accuracy. My channel ramps up with intensity. Don't know how you can hear. I almost want to make a test. Check. Do a quick quote. Oh, this is gonna be fun. I have written to you briefly, encouraging you and testifying that this is the true grace of God. Stand fast in it. Welcome here today to the Island Tetragrammaton. My name's Nicholas. I'm going to read here from Time of Transition. I need to process some of this. I try to read Bernhard as often as I can. So much that this reading shouldn't be meant for YouTube. I invite Bernhard to reach out to me. In disclosure, I do pay for his website, Piercing the Veil of Reality. His podcast is called Cosmic Matrix. He runs it with his wife, Laura Matsu Guenther. I mess up their names. Laura Matsu Guenther. It's always, I find it hard to navigate Substack, it's true. Her name is Laura Matsu. It's actually hard to find. So here we go. I'm going to read from this December 15th post, Bernhard. How spiritual distortion, shadow projection, and victimhood keep abundance blocked. And this will tie in a few things. $51 likes, 10 reposts. Most people don't realize how deeply hidden forces, false spiritual beliefs, unconscious shadow, and matrix conditioning shape their relationship with money. This piece isn't about manifestation hacks, mindset tricks, or the oversimplified law of attraction. It's a psycho-spiritual exploration of how to reclaim the money force from hostile influences and align prosperity with divine will and your deeper purpose. Something that bothers me about them, but I'm learning to get into it, I guess. Learning to live with it. So I'm going to not read these chapter titles, and instead just take them as they come. Subtopic 1. Beyond politics and economics, the deeper roots of scarcity. We live in an age of hyper-materialism. On one hand, the number of millionaires, billionaires, and soon-to-be trillionaires keeps rising. On the other, more and more people are struggling, financially strained, living in poverty, and dependent on warfare. The divide between rich and poor grows wider by the day. Many blame capitalism, and it's no surprise that younger generations are drawn to socialism or communism in response to rising living costs and the struggle of affording a decent life. Anger toward the wealthy has increased. More people look to the government for free housing services, products, unknowingly deepening their dependency on daddy government. Tax the rich, a popular slogan among leftists. But is raising taxes really the solution? especially when the tax system itself is corrupted and taxation has become a form of theft. There was a time when people didn't pay income tax, and it actually benefited society. There was also a time when the dollar and other national currencies held real value. But once it was decoupled from gold and endless money printing took over, inflation began rising exponentially. Paper fiat money keeps losing value while people keep working harder for less. Bitcoin and crypto offer some solutions. They won't fix everything and don't address the deeper root of the issue. I definitely think that a grounded, practical, financial education is very important, something most people lack. I used to lack as well. This article is not about discussing political ideology, economics, fiat versus Bitcoin, inflation, taxes, macroeconomics, or smart investments. There are plenty of people giving sound advice on all of that on Substack or X. I'm offering here is different, a look beneath the surface of money, wealth, poverty, scarcity, and the psycho-spiritual and occult forces that shape our relationship to abundance. To be clear, this is not about money mindset or the watered-down pop spirituality version of manifest your dream house, car, and relationship. There's more. Our relationship to abundance is shaped not just by upbringing and social conditioning, but also by karma and deeper soul lessons beyond the ego's grasp. There are many unknowns at play, especially on spiritual and karmic levels, in the larger context of both individual and collective evolution of consciousness. Needless to say, I won't be able to cover all of that in this piece. Seeking meaning beyond material success, subtopic 2. I grew up in Germany in a middle-class family, living in a 3-bedroom apartment for 22 years of my life. It wasn't until I moved to US that I lived in a house with a backyard. I didn't grow up in poverty or experience real lack, but I wasn't surrounded by riches either. My dad was a company man who enjoyed his work. When I graduated high school, most of my peers went on to study business or pursue careers with clear material goals. Couldn't relate to that path. The idea of chasing money gave me no sense of fulfillment. I had bigger questions. I felt there had to be more to life than material success or the pursuit of pleasure, entertainment, and security. I needed depth, purpose, and meaning. Questions like who am I, what is life really about, drove me forward and eventually led me on a quest. In my 20s, I moved to Los Angeles. Subtopic 3. When my money shadow was exposed. At the time, I carried negative judgments toward wealthy or money-driven people. I believed I was better than them because I wasn't chasing money. I thought I was more spiritual. I also judged people who charged what I thought was too much for certain services based on subjective assumptions that were purely my projections. I struggled to ask for money myself and felt guilty charging what my work was worth, though clients valued it. For a while, I worked part-time at a high-end retreat. A big shift came when I was living in a guest house, sitting with there was another massage therapist and yoga teacher at the same retreat center where I worked. He had far more private clients, hosted his retreats, and was making very good money. I judged him harshly. I gossiped about him with a friend and called him an ass kisser who charged too much and was only in it for the money. I labeled him greedy and selfish. I never told him that directly. I was fake nice to his face and resentful behind his back. At that time, I started going deeper into Jung. One day it hit me. Bernhard was envious of his yoga teacher friend. Bernhard was projecting his shadow onto his yoga teacher friend. He was living out what I secretly wanted, but I judged myself as unacceptable. I labeled him greedy, selfish, unspiritual because that's how I felt about myself when I admitted I wanted more money and success. Unconsciously, I'd been blocking my own ability to thrive because I believed that to desire prosperity and money made me unspiritual and greedy. It's a devastating form of self-sabotage because the shadow projection onto him felt so good, righteous, and justified. Facing these lies, I told myself, and realizing how I projected my shadow on others was the necessary shock. I needed to break through these unconscious false beliefs and self-imposed limitations. The truth was, I wanted what he had. Bernhard wanted the freedom and prosperity that came with not surviving but thriving and building. Of course. Bernhard saw the value of planning for the future. He realized he had been using living in the now as bypass. That was the moment Bernhard chose to embrace money. Subtopic 4. After that turning point in his life, Bernhard began to see how scarcity was not just a personal experience, but a collective program running through our entire society and culture. He calls it that. It's not just about economics or external circumstances. It's not just evil banksters keeping people impoverished. Surface level symptoms, easy to get trapped in superficial blame and victim game. Nothing will truly change unless we understand the spiritual hyperdimensional nature of reality. How we feed ourselves and justify this program, unconscious levels. Social conditioning, religious programming, unresolved childhood wounds, ancestral karma, karmic entanglements, and most insidiously identification with our lower nature. It is said that all wars are bankers' wars for profit and power over others. At the deeper level, it's always been about money, power, and life force harvested and redirected through occult mechanisms that keep humanity enslaved by manipulated free will, instead of getting caught in the disempowering victim trap and blaming the banksters. Please ask these questions here, which I will not repeat. This scarcity program tells us survival is the best we can hope for. Not enough money to go around. Wealth is reserved for the greedy and corrupt. Many seekers reject money altogether, believing it is corrupt or unspiritual. Others, consumed by it, losing themselves in greed. Whether we reject money or indulge, both are distortions. Sri Aurobindo notes. In today's world, success is often equated with money and fame, disconnected from spirit, integrity, and conscience. This opens the door to greed, fragmentation, allowing hostile entities to influence or possess a person. On the other side of the spectrum, I've seen people reject money entirely. Deep in scarcity. I'm just gonna say 5. Okay. Could be 6, but I'm gonna say 5, and we're ready. Corrupted spiritual teachings and religious programming have reinforced the... I'm not gonna say those words. I really can't. Spiritual seekers reject the money force. Believe money is unspiritual or charging for services is wrong. This mindset is religious distortion, guilt, and conditioning. Possible, Bernhard. I'm listening to you. I'm 100% with you. Because you know I'm coming from that program. Okay? So you shed light on it, Bernhard. And I honor you. Spirit of great truth. Your role can't be easy, sir. And even with the word sir, he's taking a bit of a slight to that. He says to me, how come you can be gender fluid and I can't? Over time, it creates unconscious entitlement where people expect to receive freely while seeing payment as a moral failure or corruption. Some common scarcity-inducing false beliefs include... Yeah, I wouldn't want to read any of these. This is, these are all cleansed as we glimpse them. They're cleansed now. Yeah, this is, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. Beliefs are passed down through trauma. Survival fear, even if never spoken aloud. The emotional tone around money is absorbed through behavior, habits, and entrainment. This program is one of the most effective traps. Confuse suffering with virtue, poverty with purity, scarcity with spiritual authenticity. Rejecting payment for real value is not humility. It violates the law of energetic exchange. Money is not just paper or digits. It is a force. It needs to flow. When that flow is blocked by guilt, shame, pride, false virtue, it stops circulating and returning. Not receiving for your work short circuits the energetic exchange. Over time, it weakens the impact of your service, dries up the money force. Rejecting money doesn't make you spiritual. It leaves the force in the hands of those who misuse it. Hear from the mother. I'll read this silently. And I'll cleanse it with the violet flame in my heart, and Elmoira's blue ray. Money is meant to increase wealth. Wealth, a force of nature, should be a means of circulation, power and movement. Flowing water is a power and movement. Necessity for payment to open the flow. Subtopic 6. When Bernhard first began working as a body worker, he gave sessions away for free. He needed the experience to learn and grow. Sometimes offering free work makes sense. Over time, he saw the limits of the approach. When services are given away to people caught in the program, it reinforces entitlement and bypassing rather than growth. Because of my own money, wounds, and guilt about charging, he gave away too much. Come on, Bernhard. Don't give away too much, Bernhard. You gotta get what you're worth, Bernhard. As a new age fucking spiritual coach, you better get it. I'm not trying to project with you. I understand you're much older than I am. You've had time to perfect this method. Most of the time the work isn't valued. Saw when people received something for free, they didn't invest their own will and effort. As a result, it didn't help them. It led to more entitlement. According to the old saying, give them a finger and they take the whole hand. He heard, I can't afford it, or I don't have the money right now. In most cases, that's an excuse, I know. Because I used to say it too. What I really meant was, this isn't a priority. I don't want to spend money on this. That's okay. Being honest with yourself, saying that one doesn't have the money, keeps reinforcing scarcity at the subconscious. It becomes a self-imposed spell. This is where humility and radical self-honesty matter. We all lie to ourselves at times, especially around money. It's part of the human condition. There is also a subtle form of narcissism, false humility, and spiritual idealism that assumes things should be given freely. It expects others to do the work while remaining in a victim consciousness and self-pity. Here we go with Manly P. Hall, a master mason. For that fact, I will not read this out loud, but we can read it on screen. This is getting into things like what's his name? Norman something. Esther Hicks, but there's another one. Abraham Hicks. There's another one though. His name was like Norman. I'm just staring into space until it comes to me. Neville Goddard is the man's name. So Manly P. Hall, as he speaks here, is Neville Goddard. Information, and it says here, when you earn, and neither God nor man can alter the complexion of these facts. Law, cause and effect. Cause and effect. That's true illuminacy. And inevitable as night and day, certain as the tides, constant as the ages. The law says, as ye sow, ye shall reap. Nothing is free, nothing owes you shit. There's always a price to pay for so-called free services, welfare, government handouts, but more often than not, that price is freedom and deeper dependency on big government. I did read this article, so if I can find that article, I'll share it. I stopped reading those. So, yeah. I know his article. I'm not going to go to my page right now because I'm a little obsessed with it, but his father lived through loss of freedom in East Germany, called Democratic Socialist, the state. He eventually escaped. Over time, these systems disempower people, condition them to expect handouts, create imbalance, karmic debt. Just as taking free credit always comes with interest on money you didn't earn, one major downside of the abundance of free content is that people stop valuing the work, energy, and creativity that go into it. Easy access dulls the capacity to learn through sincere effort. This shift affects more than how people relate to information or services. It shapes their orientation to life. Entitlement creeps in along with the expectation that growth, understanding, or even transformation should come without effort, sacrifice, or personal responsibility. De Solman described this inner posture with an unsettling clarity. You will see that in my life, you receive exactly what you give. Your life is the mirror of what you are. It is in your image. You are passive, blind, demanding. You take all, accept all without feeling obligation. Your attitude toward the world and life is the attitude of one who has the right to make demands and to take, who has no need to pay or to earn. You believe that all things are your due because it is you. All your blindness is there. None of this strikes your attention, yet this is what keeps one separate from another world. I'm called to just read quietly here, this next section. Subtopic 7. 2 practices that changed my relationship with money and helped me thrive as I worked to reclaim the money force in my life. Regardless of economic conditions, of media fear programming, 2 core insights changed everything. These These weren't intellectual ideas, but lived practices that naturally opened the flow of prosperity. This isn't financial advice. You have to do the inner work, shadow integration, reprogramming of unconscious beliefs, healing childhood wounds, and clearing ancestral and social conditioning. Money mindset alone won't cut it. Years ago, after the incident I shared earlier, projecting my shadow onto a thriving coworker, I made a conscious effort to observe my everyday attitude toward money. One major insight came while shopping for groceries. I noticed how often I judged things as cheap or expensive, even with health as my top priority. I'd grab whatever was on sale. I was clinging to money, afraid to spend. That day, I let go of the fear. I bought the high-quality food that I truly wanted without second-guessing or listening to the voice that said, "This is too much, you can't afford it." I also dropped the word expensive from my vocabulary. I stopped looking at prices in the store and just got what I needed. I realized these labels are entirely subjective mental programs tied to arbitrary numbers. Something simply has a price. Whether I choose to pay it is a different matter. I also began investing in myself, books, workshops, mentors, and training that refined my craft. Over time, something unexpected. The more I spent without fear or judgment, without labeling goods or services as cheap or expensive, the more prosperity flowed. I stopped clinging to money, stopped fearing spending, and let it circulate, especially toward my own development. Years later, I came across a quote by Henry Ford that captured what I had lived into. Here's from Henry Ford. It says here, "Many a man who is putting a few dollars a week into the bank would do much better to put it in himself." Some things are expensive, I can't afford them. Maybe so. I used to justify using the word expensive too. It's one of the hardest habits to break. That's the belief that reinforces scarcity. Instead of saying it's too expensive, try reframing it. It's not my priority right now. I'm working toward being able to afford it. That shift alone can begin to open the flow. Subtopic 8. Get a move on here. This is going on too long. I'm going to read this next section in silence. Subtopic 9. Discernment, integrity, and the price of scarcity. Of course, not every high price reflects true value. In today's culture of imitation and instant expertise, some people charge premium rates without real experience, study, or original insight. This is part of the larger distortion of spiritual materialism, greed, social media performance. That's a separate issue. The key is to develop inner discernment, not based on price alone, but on integrity and quality. When you're no longer stuck in a scarcity wound, you can sense that difference clearly. At least, that's Bernhard's experience. He hasn't once felt ripped off since healing that unconscious scarcity program. Again, the main point of this article is to conquer money for divine uses. So, I understand the distortions even put in here. And here he ends, of course, he ends with an offer for his course. Create abundance in alignment with divine will. And this woman is saying some of the same stuff. And it's okay. In a lot of ways, it is a law of attraction formula. But it's also true. Just listen to the way this sounds. It gives it all up right here. And that is sad to see. All right, Bernhard. But the shadow projection is exactly what I'm finding here. Time will soon come. My idea here is to pick up the gifts, put them in my car, From there, I'll be going up to Racine. There I will open my gifts, leave Eros's gifts on the floor. And I will apologize to God for my greed. I'm gonna buy how much? Don't even know how much. Get started, level up a leverage. Yeah, I don't know what that means right now. Manage your assets on home. That's cool. Trading. Okay. Oh, I lost some. Gonna buy another dip. Ain't that the truth? Gonna buy another $20 dip today. Yep. Gonna buy a $20 dip. I'm not buying Bitcoin. What the fuck? That's wrong. Oh, it dropped pretty bad here. So I'm going to buy XRP. Saying I don't have payment method on here. I do have my bank on. Blade. Yeah, I use Blade. This is terrible. This is terrible. I'm so stuck in here. Where am I stuck in here? How did I get here? Get the fuck out of this. What? Coinbase.com? I mean, why did it just change? It just changed, man. Coinbase? I'm in Coinbase. Aren't I not? I was already in Coinbase. Why is it doing it again? This is becoming harder and harder to actually achieve. Absolutely absurd. It's gonna do it 100 times. Stripe and played. Got that done. Let's get out of here. Thanks for joining me. My name's Turtle Island Tetragrammaton. Hope you have a blessed day. Please, if you enjoyed Bernhard's work, support his channel. That's Piercing the Veil of Reality. Well, that's enough for now. God bless. Be safe.